Florida fans, do not pinch yourself. It was real. Final score yesterday on Senior Day in the Swamp, 24-17 over Ole Miss. I'll just say this too, over a head coach now, no shade, that you at one point in time were hoping would be your head coach next year. So what do we say about Florida after that win yesterday? And what does this mean for the future of Florida Gator football under Billy Napier and under your quarterback of the future, DJ Lagway? All that here coming up. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're dialed in to the nth degree right here on the On3 YouTube channel. You got one more big game if you're a Florida fan. And we're going to make sure you're dialed in from the Florida side of things for the college football playoff. All that and the like. Make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate you so much in advance. So here's what I want to start with saying. Yesterday was not fluky on the Florida side. Maybe you could have pitched me on the idea that it was fluky if you had lost to LSU the week before. You could have maybe told me it was fluky if DJ Lagway hadn't been who we have, projected DJ Lagway to be over the course of the last few games. Yesterday was real, both in the sense of, it actually happened, in the sense of how Florida won that game yesterday. Look at the box score. There was nothing that Florida lacked when it comes to what good football teams do, in my mind. Outrushed Ole Miss, 164-141. Had less turnovers. Made the more timely plays. That's important here. Had big stops on downs against that Ole Miss offense. Ole Miss, quite frankly, did not make the plays when the ball was in the air. Florida did. Like that was real. Everything that you saw yesterday, I believe, is transferable and something you can build upon going forward here in the Billy Napier era and the DJ Lagway era. Can we give some credit where it's due now, too, for Billy Napier? Because there was so much conversation after that A&M game, after that Miami game, and I took part in it saying, hey, listen, I'm looking at what I'm looking at, and this doesn't give me a lot of encouragement for what's going on here into the future. To have the team play the way they've played here down the stretch, when your starting quarterback goes down, after you take your licks early, and to have back-to-back massive wins. To have the LSU win was nice. I already told you if they had lost the LSU game and won the Ole Miss game, you're kind of wondering, okay, what is this Florida team? It's nice they got that win. But to have 2 big weeks in a row and to have your team ready to play 2 big weeks in a row, to be able to hit the reset button after an emotional victory over an LSU team and to be able to go play the way you played against a team in Ole Miss now that this wasn't an Ole Miss team that was just finishing out their season trying to find a way to be respectable. This was an Ole Miss team that had college football playoff aspirations. This is an Ole Miss team that had everything to play for. And to play the way that you did, I think you got to give a ton of credit to Billy Napier, both from a approach perspective, from a getting DJ Lagway ready to play perspective. Like all these things, I think from what you saw from Florida, point back to your head coaches. So that's massive. And I think if you're a Florida fan, you feel quite a bit different than you did maybe a few weeks ago when you look to 2025 under Billy Napier. And a massive part of that too, when you talk about the future for Billy Napier and the future of Florida football, it is tied at the hip to DJ Lagway. And this was, I think, the most impressive, most encouraging thing to me if I'm a Florida fan. What you saw yesterday from DJ Lagway, you don't have to squint and project and talk about what he could be in 2025 under Billy Napier and what Florida is. Like you're seeing it right now. You're seeing it all come together. Like the DJ Lagway experience, it's here. And honestly, like if, again, going back to the LSU game, going back to the Ole Miss game, if they had just played them close and DJ Lagway had a couple of plays here, a couple of plays there that he makes that are, flashes, and then he makes the freshman mistake to lose that football game, you're talking about potential, right? You're talking about, hey, eventually, once DJ Lagway really gets comfortable playing college football, we'll start winning those games. You won those games. I don't want to say you've arrived necessarily, because DJ Lagway, I think, still has a lot more that he, I'd have to imagine, wants to improve upon and will improve upon. But like DJ Lagway is exactly who you think he is right now. You don't have to squint to see what he's going to be at Florida. He is a dude. I don't think it's unrealistic to say he could very much so be one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the SEC next year as a true sophomore. That sounds like a big statement. I don't think it's that far of a stretch. I really don't. And a big part of this now, too, the thing that excites me the most from a Florida fan, in addition to DJ Lagway, in addition to what you've done so far these last 2 weeks, think about all the momentum right now that you have if you're in that locker room, and quite frankly, if you're going to make some pitches to potential transfer portal acquisitions out there in Gainesville. If DJ Lagway hadn't had the games he's had the last 2 weeks, if Florida hadn't won these last 2 games, going back to what I just said, you're pitching potential, You're pitching the idea of what Florida could be in 2025. You're trying to sell this vision, right? And vision's great. I'm all here for vision. You should dream big, have big goals, big aspirations. But what are dreams and visions? Just what I said, that they haven't actually happened yet. They haven't formulated just yet. You don't have to have a vision you're selling to these guys. You have the vision of, I guess, the overall win total you want to have and what you want to do in the SEC in 2025. But you're not trying to sell the vision of who you have at quarterback or what the offense can be. You're seeing it. And so now in 2025, when you're going to take a big swing here in the transfer portal, I fully expect that, you have a lot more juice and a lot more what I would call marketable moments to take to those high-level weapons, to take to those defensive pieces you want to add, the offensive line, whatever you want to talk about there. You now have some real juice, I think, that you can ultimately transfer into some high-level acquisitions that you would expect Florida to go after here once that transfer portal opens up. So for Florida, man, a bit of a wild way to get to what I expect to be the 7-win mark for Florida, should they do what they're supposed to do against Florida State next week. But to finish the way they finished, again, you got to give a lot of credit to Billy Napier. You obviously have to give a lot of credit to DJ Lagway. Give a lot of credit to this roster for staying bought in, staying dialed in. And again, that just speaks volumes to everything that Billy Napier has built internally. And I'll say this too before we get out of here. Just because we hadn't seen the return on investment or the fruits of the labor from Billy Napier with what they had internally with this locker room doesn't mean they weren't doing the right things all along. Like last year, you go 5-7, it hurts, it stings, all those things. That's 100% true. But just because those games weren't swinging Florida's way at the end of last year, the Missouri game comes to mind, the Florida State game comes to mind, doesn't mean that all the while Billy Napier wasn't stacking bricks, laying the foundation to ultimately get the result they got yesterday. So, obviously it doesn't hurt when you got a guy like DJ Lagway pulling the trigger for you. But again, nothing fluky yesterday for Florida. Massive win over Ole Miss. The future is now, if you're a Florida Gator fan, to say the least. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're locked in. We appreciate y'all in advance. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.